And thank you all for joining on time. I really value your time and hope you also value your time. That's why we'll keep to time in everything that we do. So quickly, we'll just start like every time with the Mangalacharan prayers, and I'll just read. If you can repeat with me. Om Jnanatimirantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurvilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Tena Bhutale Swayam Rupapadatmanam Dadati Savidantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Puranam Sri Guru Vaishnavamsha Sri Rupam Saddhajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitantam Sajivam Sardaitam Sarvadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padana Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishaka Nidansha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swamini Namne Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sundavani Paschatya Deshitarine Vanchakalpataru Vasya Kripa Sindhu Eva Chakti Tanam Pavunebho Vaishnavebho Namo Namo Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Ram. Welcome all of you to this third session, and today we are reading from we'll start from chapter 13. So chapter 13 talks about nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness, which is in the terms of Bhagavad Gita, and we'll soon see Kshetra, Kshetrajna, and consciousness, and Chetna. So the final 6 chapters, these final 6 chapters between 13 to 18 is known as Gyan Yoga, or transcendental wisdom, that helps one become detached from materialistic aspirations and simultaneously attached to Krishna. Chapter 13 covers Chapter 13 covers topics previously discussed, but explores them in a more analytical way. Thus, readers can take advantage of the logical presentation made by Krishna to strengthen our conviction and deepen our understanding. So, we'll start with one sloka, opening sloka. Upadrashta Anumantascha Bharata Bhokta Maha Ishvara Paramatma Iti Api Ukta Deha Ashmin Purusha Para. So this is chapter 13, sloka number 23. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer, who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, who exists at the overseer and permitter, who is known as Paramatma or Super Soul. What are the 4 questions? Like every time, WISE, W-I-S-E. So the whole chapter has 35 slokas and broken down into this format. The WISE question, what are the questions? So Arjun asked Krishna to define 6 subjects. Please hear attentively. Prakriti, nature. Purusha, the enjoyer. Kshetra, the field of activities. Kshetrajna, the knower of the field of activities. Jnanam, knowledge, the process of knowing. And Jnana, the object of knowing. These subjects are key constituents of Vedic philosophy, and Krishna therefore spends the entire chapter defining and discussing them in chapter 13. Arjun, although an established transcendentalist, plays the part of a materially entangled individual, so he can pose questions for the benefit of humanity and all of us. His astute inquiries create the opportunity for Krishna to offer answers to life's most profound mysteries. Krishna begins by defining Kshetra and Kshetrajna. So in the first the items of knowledge from sloka 8 to 12, these verses describe how Kshetrajna, spirit soul, can dismantle himself from Kshetra, which is this body, by cultivating jnana or knowledge. Since true knowledge is revealed with the heart of a deserving person, the real method of acquiring knowledge is the cultivation of divine qualities, of which Humility is the foremost. Knowledge is not about information and memorization, but rather about exemplary personal character and particular behavior. One who nurtures a saintly disposition experiences a change of heart, which disangles the eternal soul from its deep-rooted identification within the body, its temporal dress. The soul, A stands for soul and supersoul. Having described the Kshetra, Kshetrajna and Jnana, Krishna now describes Jnanam, the object of knowledge. The purpose of knowledge is to realize the soul and the supersoul, who are external individual, but at the same time intimately connected. It is the prerogative of the soul to understand the supersoul, but the supersoul is sometimes described as avijnanam or unknowable. How to reconcile then this? Empirical researchers who try to find about the supreme using mundane logic and material sense perceptions are invariably baffled, and the supersoul within remains unknowable to them. However, those who approach the subject matter with proper attitude, ready, willing to gain insight through the eyes of great teachers, can surely realize the supersoul, the object of all knowledge. E stands for enjoyer. Who is this enjoyer? The chapter concludes with the description of the final term, Prakriti and Purusa. The conditioned soul desires to control, enjoy Prakriti. Conditioned souls meaning all of us, and it is this enjoying spirit that binds them to the material world. The super soul, however, is the actual enjoyer, Purusha. Everything, material nature and the individual souls, is ultimately meant for his enjoyment. Just as pouring of water over the root of a tree energizes the trunk, branches, twigs. Similarly, offering worship and service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his pleasure and satisfaction automatically brings satisfaction to all living entities, including each one of us. In this particular chapter, Krishna speaks, Kshetra Kshetra Jnana Evam Antaram Jnana Chakshusha Bhuta Prakriti Moksham Cha Ye Bhivu Yanti Te Param. Those who see with the eyes of knowledge the difference between the body and the knower of the body can also understand the process of liberation from bondage in material nature and attain the supreme goal of life. With that, we move to chapter 14, which talks about the three modes of material nature. In chapter 14, Krishna introduces a very interesting model known as three modes of material nature. These three qualities permeate everything we see, we hear, we touch, we smell. Our lifestyle, attitude, behaviors all fall under this mode. Though closer analysis, we can perceive how people are functioning in this world with a mistaken belief of free will, when in actuality they are impelled to act according to these influences of material nature. Therefore, unless one is able to transcend these modes of nature, they act to perpetually being trapped in this material world. Krishna speaks to Arjuna, Sarva Joneshu Kaunteya Murtaya Sambhavantiya Tasam Brahma. From chapter 14, sloka number 4. It should be understood that all species of life, O son of Kunti, are made possible by birth in this material nature. And I am the seed-giving father. Krishna says that, mentions that. So the trap of this three modes of material nature. The T, three modes. Mode is a translation what we generally in Sanskrit called as guna or quality, which literally means a thread or rope. The three modes of influence a person has determine if good and generally achieve long-term happiness, even if one experiences temporary inconveniences. The person overtaken by passion or raja guna frantically seeks immediate short-term gain, does not expect much more out of life. On the other hand, the person dominated in ignorance or tamaguna rarely achieves happiness at all. In this way, the material world is populated by living entities in different conditions of life. R stands for rest for prominence. The modes compete with one another for supremacy within an individual, within ourselves, we ourselves as person. In this, in the cycle of a single day, different modes may achieve prominence at different times. In general, goodness clarifies and pacifies the individual since it motivates joy, wisdom, and kindness. Passion is said to confuse and provoke the individual, invoking qualities of greed, anger, frustration. Ignorance is said to obscure and impede one's life, often resulting in oversleeping, indifference, laziness, lack of willingness to do anything. Now, how does this modes act? The action part, action in modes. Reincarnation is the process by which a soul receives a new material body on the basis of activities performed in the present body. Our activities are a result of the decision we make, and our decisions are ultimately based on the modes which we are being influenced by. Thus, Krishna predicts the future destination of an individual based on the prominent mode in their lifetime. In short, those situated in goodness go upwards to the higher planets. Those in passion live on the earthly planets. Those in ignorance goes down. So you can see in this picture, you will be having this presentation later. You can look at it in much more details. So we are in Bhuloka. Then we have got Bhuvar Loka, which is also called the Prithvi Purush Lok, forefathers. Then Swarga, Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok, and Satyalok. Similarly, the lower planetary system, which is in people for mode in ignorance, Atal, Vital, Sutal, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasal, and then Patal. P stands for pure life. In these verses, though these various descriptions, we can approximate what combination of modes we are personally affected by. The chapter concludes by explaining the ideal state that ensures a successful human life. Of the three, it still implicates one in the law of karma. To become completely free of karma reactions, one must transcend even the mode of goodness and become situated in a spiritual platform called Suddha Satagun. This is only possible by engaging in Bhakti Yoga with unflinching determination, taking inspiration and support. Explains the character of such perfected transcendentalists who enjoy nectar even in this life. So we can see from a sloka from 14.26. Mam cha ya avicharena bhakti yogena sevata saguna samatitya etan brahma bhuya kalpate. Brahma bhuya kalpate. So in this sloka, Krishna mentions one who engages in full devotional service unfailing in all circumstances. Now, how to do it? Now, Krishna is teaching us in the next chapter, which is Purushottam Yoga. This is the most important yoga in whole of Bhagavad Gita, Purushottam Yoga, the yoga of Supreme Personality. So imagine, please listen very attentively. Imagine someone checks into a holiday hotel room and then begins painting the walls, buying new furniture, refitting the bathroom, and hanging up their own family pictures. It sounds ridiculous, right? You don't make arrangements for long-term comfort in a temporary place of residence. This world is like a hotel room within which people have complicated plans for security and enjoyment. In chapter 15, Krishna uses a wonderful analogy to create detachment within the spiritualist and fuel his desire to re-enter his real home in the spiritual realm where happiness is eternally residing. So Krishna mentions the eternal space, the eternal place of happiness here. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Urdamula Adhashakyam Ashwadham Prabhur Avvayam Chamdam Shijasya Parnani Ya Vedascha Vedavit. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna said, it is said that there is an imperishable banyan tree. So you can see it here. Imperishable banyan tree that has its roots upward and its branch downwards, whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of Vedas. So there is a true place for happiness, but unfortunately in this world it is inverted, urdamula, like an inverted tree. But actually that guarantees us that there is a real place of happiness, real place of enjoyment where it will be permanent, it will not be temporary. Much like image of the tree when it, or the shadow of the tree when it falls on top of the lake water, much like that. And in these verses, Krishna highlights H, or home, how to go back to Godhead or home. So first, just like a banyan tree has a reflection in the water, the spiritual world also has its reflection in the material world. While they may look similar from a distance, the spiritual world is where reality, substance, and true satisfaction is found. On the other hand, the reflected tree of the material world is complicated, intricate, completely topsy-turvy, since the roots are upwards and the branches downwards. Birds, like individuals like us, you and me, frenetically search for juicy fruits on the reflected tree, but the substance which brings satisfaction seems to be lacking. Krishna urges here to all of us to cut down this illusionary tree with the weapon of detachment and end the futile endeavors of permanent fulfillment in this temporary place. Oh, for over and over again. Punar Charvita Charvanam, as Srila Prabhupada mentions. Krishna then gives a glimpse of the spiritual world, showing how its nature is perfect, complete, fully satisfying to all. Once having gone there, no one ever returns back to this world. Here in the material realm, an individual hops from one tree to another tree, acquiring various material bodies based on the worldly desires they cultivate throughout the life. Like somebody is very jealous, Shastra says it gets a body of a snake. At the time of death, though the subtle workings of reincarnation, one receives a body which is tailor-made to facilitate such desires. Man proposes, God disposes. Thus, different life situations are meant to teach us a simple lesson. We are looking for the right thing. Are we looking for the right thing or not? That is our happiness. Are we looking in the right place or not? That is what we are reminded in these verses. M for maintainer of our BMI, or body, mind, and intelligence, or soul. One who is entangled within the reflected tree of material existence can develop his Krishna consciousness by appreciating Krishna as the maintainer of all levels. Krishna maintains our gross physical body by arranging fundamental resources that provide the energy of life. He also maintains our subtle capabilities by facilitating knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. Think about if we are to remember or not forget our past mistakes, how difficult it will be in our lives. And finally, perhaps most importantly, Krishna maintains our spirituality by offering ways and means to achieve self-realization, escape from the dangerous cycle of repeated birth and death. E. So the essence of this chapter is mentioned in the slokas 16 to 18. So previously there was this Chatursloki Bhagavad Gita which Krishna spoke from in chapter 8, chapter 10, sloka from 8 to 11, 8, 9, 10, 11. And now he summarizes that by the teachings in these three verses. Fallible living entities have dropped into the tree of material existence due to an independent desire to enjoy. So we independently desired and we got tangled in this tree. These are different from living entities who never leave the spiritual limb due to their undeviated desire to be with the Lord or Krishna. Beyond both entities is the Supreme Lord. Thus, in yet another way, Krishna reinforces that the living entity never becomes God, since even liberated souls have their separate identity in the spiritual world to exchange love with Krishna. And we can see that in the next sloka that we are referring here, which is sloka number 15 of chapter 15. Sarvasya chaham hridasanvityo matra smritir jnana apohanam cha vedascha sarva aham eva vedya vedatkrit vedantakrit vedavid eva chaham. So Krishna mentions here that he is seated in everyone's heart and in everyone's remembrance, knowledge, forgetfulness, and all the Vedas. He is the knower of all the Vedas and he is also the compiler of all the Vedas. So he is complete. So anything that we need, we can approach Krishna because Krishna is complete. He can give whatever incompleteness we feel. We need not think again and again, doubt ourselves. And people who are doubting the this greatness of Krishna in terms of what he can give to us or how he can interact with us. So it has been called out when in chapter 16. So just an example, nothing offensive against any animal or any cruelty, nothing like that. So statutory submission from our side. So just an example. So dog is an unpredictable animal if it is not trained. Though widely acclaimed as man's best friend, the dog also can be trained to be brutal and can make unprovoked attacks. Such contradictory behavior is a sign of being in different modes of material nature in different times. In previous ages, the distinction between a good divine person and a demonic person was very clear. They lived at a distance in different planets and rarely mixed with each other. But in modern times, that dividing line has disappeared to the extent that are coexisting in a same individual like us. In chapter 16, Krishna describes the qualities of saintly persons and the weaknesses of demonic. It is a systematic way of exposing attitudes and behavior that destroy our lives so that we can become more spiritual. And so let's look at what are the demonic qualities Krishna is calling out in sloka 4 of chapter 16. Dambharpa abhimana krodha parishyam evascha Ajnanam cha avijatasya partha sampadam asurim. So asurim qualities Krishna is calling out are dhamma, pride, darpa, arrogance, abhimana, being always very me and mine. Abhimana means me and mine. Then anger, krodha, and ignorance, ajnana. So these 5 qualities, whenever you see in any person, whenever we see in any person, we know that they are demonic in nature and we should try to avoid them. We should try to avoid them. And Krishna breaks it down in the next verses in this way. On the tree of the material world that we have seen in chapter 15, divine qualities are said to elevate us, whereas we have seen that we are going from Bhu, Bhuvaswaha, Janalok, Maharlok, like that, up to Satyalok, where Brahmaji is established. Said to elevate us from our demonic qualities. These are result of nature by Prakriti Kira Manani Gune Karmani Sarvasa. Krishna has told how Krishna gets everything done by Prakriti, by material nature. While we undoubtedly carry impressions from previous life, our willpower, determination, and activities in this life can significantly alter that nature. So never doubt, never question. And Krishna calls out in this section, absolutely must read. Krishna describes 26 divine qualities to develop willpower, to develop determination, to develop what are the activities that we should be focusing in our lives. And Krishna also calls out 6 major demonic qualities in this particular section of verses from 1 to 6. What is the outlook of a demon or demonic qualities? To reassure Arjun that he is of divine nature, Krishna distinguishes the activities, mentality, qualities of one who has demonic propensities. Such miscreants are cast into repeated births in undeveloped lower species. So there are 84 lakh species, lower species with lower consciousness, like a lion. It has lower consciousness. It cannot differentiate between a sattvic vegetarian diet and a non-vegetarian diet. It needs the non-vegetarian diet to exist, to survive. So it is, they can't, because they can't differentiate, so they are not doing any, or they are not doing any pap karma, because they can't differentiate. Pap or purna karma only comes into being when there is a differentiating power, which is only given to the human race. While this may sound like harsh, but Krishna explains how such treatment is the most progressive course of action to gradually uplift all of us as individuals. Demonic philosophy, mentality, activities generate immense anxiety. We all know, we all must have dealt with people. They are always like on the edge for the individual and cause great disruption in the wider society. But still, Krishna mentions it is a disease which can be cured by a process. And chapter 17 is going to give us that process, where Krishna talks about that process and briefly mentions in the next section, which is this how to cure the disease. So as they say, like head the disease, nor head the disease, not the diseased. So Krishna is hating the disease, helping us, giving us advice how to cure our disease. And he's not hating us, he loves us. That's why he's giving us those advice, or he's giving Arjuna those advice. So in the next part, which is demonic, for demonic qualities, where the Krishna warns that the lust, anger, greed three root qualities that lead one to hell. Such hellish planets are not eternal prisons for the soul, but places of reformation, like a jail, where stern lessons help one realign their vision. For one who wants to avoid such shock treatment, the scriptures act as a guidebook, gradual purification, and ultimate perfection. They recommend a regulated lifestyle in which one can easily transform, like a fan. The other day I mentioned that, like a fan, by its own fancy, it will be rotating, but by a regulator, I can control at what speed based on what I need. So a regulated lifestyle easily transforms our selfishness into selflessness, our lust into true love, our quarrel into true cooperation. And Krishna mentions this in chapter 16, sloka number 24. Tasmat shastram paramanam karya akarya. So he mentions that karya akarya. So one should understand that what is duty and what is not duty. And how to understand that? Gyatva Sastra Vidina. Third line. By reading the scriptures, by taking guidance of scriptures, right? Nowadays, like when some new appliance arrives, okay, we are not reading, or they are neither shipping the manual, they probably give us a PDF and we put it into some sort of a Claude or Chat GPT, some sort of an agent, and just find answers from it, the manual. But that manual has all the details. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is giving all the gyan in terms of what duty to do and what duty not to do, so that we avoid asuric qualities or demonic qualities, and we acquire all good qualities. With that, we move on to the next chapter, which is the penultimate chapter of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17. Here, in the previous chapter, Krishna describes two extremes, as we seen, divine. But our day-to-day experience, however, reveals that we as individuals have many faces and are not necessarily one or the other at all times. Life is generally not black and white, but usually different shades of gray. The faces that we present on a daily basis reveals something about our faith, the thing we trust, we believe, the place where we value ourselves, or somebody values us. So chapter 17 describes how a person's affiliation to a particular mode of goodness, passion, or ignorance, Satya, Raja, Tama, will define and determine the type of faith that they have and type of nature that they have. And Arjun has a question on this concept. So Arjun says, Arjuna Upacha Ya Sastra Vidim Utsarya Jajante Shraddha Anvita Tesham Nishtha Tuka Krishna Sattvam Aha Rajatama. So Arjun is asking, oh Krishna, what is the situation of those? Okay, you are telling me all this. What is the situation of those who does not follow your guidance? And they are just doing things manogata. Krishna tells in chapter 2, sloka number 58, manogata. He uses the word manogata. Matlab, he is not told by him to act in a way, but somebody is just by his own concoction of imagination. Like koi bolta hai na ki, like somebody says, like, okay, if you ask them, like, what is the basis of something they're mentioning, so mere ko aisa laga. Generally, like, people will say, like, okay, but Krishna is saying, get away from that habit, follow what I am saying, because if we follow, then we will have a face, or we will have a character, and that character is how? So F for faith, Although religious people are often referred, religious means somebody who has a routine, who has a regularity. A religion does not mean it is restrictive. Religion means I have a routine of doing things. So sometimes in workplace or somewhere, people will say like, do it like a do this work religiously. So what this means is do it by a routine. So so the reality is that all of us have faith within us. We have some sort of a belief. And what is the demonstration of that? So let's say we are driving a car, there is traffic light, we will stop, right? We have faith in the traffic light, it's directing the right way. We are going on an aircraft, we don't know the pilot, but we know the pilot will take us from the two destination that we have booked our tickets for. We have faith. So all this, we have a banker, we know whatever money we have in the bank, it's in good hands. It's not going to vanish tomorrow when I go to the ATM, right? So to faith means to see opportunity, reward and value in something, even though it may not be immediately experienced, it might be prolonged. Therefore, according to one's faith, one identifies what objects of adoration and reverence and begins to act in a particular way to achieve those. So in accordance to this, individuals adopt what views they have, what lifestyles they have, what characters traits they bring in their lives. So Krishna begins a discussion of this by giving examples of what kind of diet in this section, what kind of diet we should take and what kind of tapasya we should do. Like every 14 days in the Vedic calendar, there is something called Ekadashi. Primarily, if we fast on that day, as per Vedic rules, we give our rest to our gut and we increase the efficiency of our Jatagni, which basically helps us to digest our food, which is tomorrow. You can try it out if you are not practicing that. Every 14 days it comes. Then austerities. The austerities, what kind of tapasya? In order to achieve anything in this world, we must undergo some austerity. We sacrifice immediate pleasure, comfort for the purpose of long-term benefit. Like when we are studying, we are giving an exam after some time. Nowadays it's like 3 months, but in nowadays, or maybe it was like at least 6 months, if not 1 year, right? But we are studying, we are doing austerity, we are getting up early in the morning, or we have our own routine. We are doing all that austerity for a long-term benefit. So people who place faith in different things perform different austerities in life. Krishna explains beneficial austerities which are pertaining to BMI. BMI stands for body, mind, and intelligence. Also, it gives various levels of motivation. Like something done for the body will have a different level of motivation. For mind, another level. For soul, like today, all of us are hearing from this book of knowledge. It is for soul. So its motivation is highly recharging because it is coming from within ourselves. See, in terms of charity, what kind of charitable work should we do? So the innate quality of a soul is to serve, and that is why we are trying to serve somebody or other. If we don't get anybody, Prabhupada says we are serving we are sitting in front of a mirror and just looking at ourselves. Thus, we find a charitable disposition within everyone for a greater or lesser extent. According to one's own faith, they make efforts to keep others and help others. Krishna discusses the different types of charity and explains that to truly benefit people, charity must be performed within certain parameters. And he talks about what are those parameters in the next section of this sloka. Keeping the enjoyer of everything. Who is the enjoyer of everything? Keeping that in mind. Throughout this chapter, Krishna discusses all his themes with reference to modes of material nature, the three modes of material nature. So it is essential to understand that all activities, even those performed in goodness, will always yield karmic result to the performer and thus bind him to repeated existence in this world. But is there another way of doing things? And Krishna mentions that that God is defined as the supreme enjoyer. Bhoga Ishwarya, sorry, that was not the sloka. 5.29. So God is defined as the supreme enjoyer, Bhoktaram Jaggatapasam Sarvaloka Maheshwara. Sometime I get mixed up. So that was the 5.29. Bhoktaram. So Krishna says, Bhoktaram, I am the Bhoktaram, I am a Bhokta, I am the enjoyer of everything in this world. And by these three words, Om Tat Sat. So these three words define sacrifices, any austerities, any penances that we are taking. There is a if you all of you keep connected to our WhatsApp group, you will find gradually we will be sharing more of how to make these practices. There is an auspicious time which is coming up from 17th May. It's called Purushottam month, and we will let you know how you can best use that in one maybe 1 hour session later. And the transcendental aim is not for taking reward. And we can see in chapter 17, sloka 28, Krishna mentions that that anything done in sacrifice, charity, it has to be with faith. If we don't do it faith, that means we are just doing it as a kind of duty, as a job. It's not faith, not believing. It will bring some change. It's not going to be permanent. So it becomes asat. If you want to make it permanent, then we should dovetail all our charity, all our sacrifice, all our penance into the supreme enjoyer, which is Krishna. Krishna clearly calls it out. With that, we'll come to the concluding chapter, which is chapter 18. Chapter 18 is essentially a final summary of the Bhagavad Gita. After systematically outlining various spiritual truths, Krishna offers his Paramam Vacha, his Vachan, his supreme advice. One should take up the Bhakti Yoga. That means doing all karma with the understanding that we are doing this karma to benefit or somehow serve Krishna. And Krishna has already given us what are those processes. The most essential spiritual practice outlined in every chapter of this conversation in chapter 18. Thus, one is offered the opportunity of permanent happiness, and that is what we are looking for, the fulfillment by achievement of Krishna consciousness, and is considered the perfection of renunciation. So, being happy doesn't mean neti, that means reject everything. We can be happy, we can be renounced, but attaching by yoga everything to Krishna, as Krishna given us a process. So in such a consciousness, an individual can smile in the face of any situation, any circumstance, confident that Krishna is his constant companion and eternal friend. And does Krishna call it out anywhere? Yes, he does. So he says, Jagyadana tapa karma na tyagyam karyam eva jnanam jagyanam danam tapa eva pravanahi manishinam. So he says that by acts of sacrifice and charity, we purify ourselves. So if we are doing any acts of sacrifice, charity, tapasya, austerity, right? Like walking, let's say you get some place, nice place to walk barefoot. That's also some sort of austerity. And if you make that walk in a place where Krishna is present, then you are dovetailing that to Krishna. So, so this section calls out smile in this way. Summary of the Karma Yoga. The 18th chapter begins by addressing the frequently asked question that seems to pop up again and again. If working in this world seems to attract karmic reaction, implicates us in a wave of worldly complexity, is it not safe that we give up work altogether? Krishna disagrees, reiterates that activity is not bad per se. The root of entanglement is the false ego. Karta ham iti mannate. मैं कर रहा हूं सब कुछ, with which we perform the activity, thinking ourselves the controller and the enjoyer. In reality, there are 5 causes which bring success to any activity. I once again repeat, please listen carefully. There are 5 causes which bring any success to any activity, any type of activity. Krishna mentions. What are those 5 causes? The individual soul whose desires, the body which cooperates, the senses which perceives, the endeavor like willingness to do it, and ultimately the super soul, which is Paramatma, which is Krishna himself, approving our desire. Since we are only one of the 5, which is us as soul, we should never have an overvalued estimation of ourselves that every work will be a success. Thus, by working in a spirit of detachment, offering the fruits of labor towards a transcendental goal, one can function in this world and simultaneously become completely aloof. Aim for modes of nature. Looking around us, the reality is that most people are deeply engrossed within this material body. Krishna pins this down to the modes of nature that entangles each person according to their individual mentality and desires. He explained how the modes influence our knowledge, our action, our understanding, our determination, and ultimately our sense of happiness. Krishna then defines what is the solution, who is the ideal worker, how should he work. On one hand, we are expected to be aloof, unattached workers, but in reality, we are conditioned, natures, influenced by the modes of Sattva, Raja, Tamas, which indicates and implicates us in worldly life. Krishna therefore explains the system of Varnashrama, Varna and Ashrama. Like Varna means like responsibility, what kind of work we do, and for the work that we do, there is the ashram, there is a household rules, like we call grihasthas. So grihastha is our Varna, and grihastha ashram has certain rules where one engage their inherent nature in different types of work. 4 divisions are outlined: the Brahmana, the Kshatriya, the Vaishya, and the Shudra. One should, so guna karma vivagasya, we should not get it wrong. See, Sanatan Dharma is guna karma vivagasya. Krishna has told us it is based on guna, karma, not by birth, not by lineage. Like a doctor's son is not a doctor by default. Yes, he does get help because his father is a doctor, his mom is a doctor, but he still has to give the doctor NEET and pass, get crack NEET and get into the college for his degree. So one should not artificially imitate another man's duty, but rather embrace what is natural inborn. By engaging our nature and discharging work in spirit of God consciousness, we purify ourselves of material propensities and live a very happy and peaceful life. L for love of God. So in conclusion, all the activities, practices, elements of spirituality are ultimately aimed at achieving pure love of God. The highest realization in transcendental knowledge is to re-establish one's eternal loving relationship with Supreme Personality of Godhead. And ISKCON founder Acharya Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada wonderfully mentions, if you have Bhagavad Gita as it is, if you don't have, please message me, I will get it couriered to you. In sloka 18, chapter 18, sloka 65, the most confidential part of knowledge is that one should become a pure devotee of Krishna, always thinking of him and acting on his behalf. One should not become an official meditator, Life should be so molded that one will always have the chance to think of Krishna. One should always act in such a way that all his daily activities are in connection with Krishna. We should arrange his life in such a way that throughout 24 hours he cannot help but thinking of Krishna. Now you may ask me, like, if when we are going to sleep, how can we think? Yes, there is a spiritual practice in which it says before you go to sleep, if you are reading something which is in mode of Sattva guna, some advice of Krishna, or reading a pastime of Krishna, then the time that you have slept, it is also gets counted in mode of goodness, because that is the mode that you are in when your body switched off, your consciousness. And the Lord's promise is that anyone who is in pure Krishna consciousness will certainly return to the abode of Krishna. E stands for what is the end result. So we can see Arjun mentions here, Parishe Vachanam Tava. I am willing to do now everything that you are saying, Krishna. So knowledge has been passed on to Arjun, and Arjun is, we know, like Arjun already had knowledge, but it's on our behalf. He is kind of acting on our behalf so that we could hear Bhagavad Gita. So the knowledge and understanding of Bhagavad Gita is dependent upon one's consciousness. So not once, if you have read once, read it twice, read it thrice, read it four times, as many times as you want. Every time, personally, you will have a separate realization with Krishna as you read Bhagavad Gita. Only one who approaches these sacred teachings with proper mood, lifestyle will be able to fully comprehend the deep, profound meanings. By hearing and studying this conversation with such favorable temperament, one perceives the spiritual dimension as a tangible reality, and his life becomes exciting and wondrous and with happiness at every step. See how many times I have used, or Krishna has used, happiness. Krishna wants us to be happy. Krishna wants us not to be feeling suffering. Krishna wants us to get out of the rabbit hole that we are in. Thus, to share his wisdom with society at large, Krishna has done this welfare activity of speaking Bhagavad Gita. And we end Bhagavad Gita chapter 18 and section 3 summary with instruction, very important instruction. Please listen carefully. And after Kahoot, we'll open for questions also. But after Kahoot, the quiz. So Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam saranam vaja. Aham tam sarva papebho mokshami masucha. Masucha, don't worry. Don't worry, be happy. Don't worry, I'm here. I'm Krishna, I'm telling you. Don't worry, I will take care of you. I am Bija Pada Prita. Why are you worrying? Just depend. Real independence is being dependent on Krishna. Real independence is not independence of any movement that can bring. Real dependent on Krishna. And Ishopanishad calls it Isha Vasham Idam Sarvam Jatkinche Jagatam Takat Tena Taktena Bhunjita. So Ishopanishad mentions this Isha Vasham, being always dependent on Krishna, because Krishna is complete in every sense. So somebody who is complete can only give us whatever we require. Somebody who is not complete, they themselves don't have it. So he says, Sarva Dharman Parityajya. Dharman means not about religion. It's not about like Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddha, not that religion. It talks about religion. Dharma means beliefs. Give up all beliefs and just surrender unto me. Just follow me. Whatever you have done, you have done. Now is the end. And if you do that, Masucha, then just chill out. Okay? You can chill out, you can relax in happiness. That is it. Thank you very much for being here. We can send Kahoot. Till the time we are sending Kahoot, I have one appeal. If you forgive me for this, but I'm just making this appeal on behalf of ISKCON Kolkata. We are having a festival. It is the 4th incarnation of Krishna as Narasimha. So that incarnation day is on 30th, and there is a QR code here, and I can post the QR code also in the group. If you to donate for service. We just understood a little back that we can take finances, austerities. So sharing little bit for service with people who are trying to bring this knowledge of this book to this larger society. And this festival is meant to bring those people together and to talk to them, to interact with them. We have many programs which are there. In case you are planning your visit to Calcutta, or you are in Calcutta, you can please join us. I'll post this. That is an appeal. But with that, we have arrived our Kahoot moment. Yes, Hare Krishna. Mataji, have you posted the Kahoot? We are already delayed by 2 minutes. Okay, everybody is joining. Okay, very nice. Please join quickly. We got delayed by 2-3 minutes today. First position is Ankita Mataji. Okay, fourth position, Sanchari Mataji. And fifth position is Meera Mataji. Okay, many congratulations. Thank you very much for being here. Uh, Now, if you want to interact, I'm here for next till 9:15, about 12 minutes. If you want, if you have any questions, I can take. Otherwise, you can drop.